Arian, can I ask you football questions?
Yeah, man, shoot.
All right. So you were a big deal in high school. I looked up your stats. You got 17 touchdowns one year and 1,600 rushing yards, roughly. And then you went to Tennessee.
I was in the NFL.
It says it's your high school stats, actually.
I could be. I mean, I don't remember, but I did that in the NFL as
well. So what was it like getting recruited? Were you like one of the elite recruits? So you went to Tennessee. For people that don't know, Arian Foster was a pro running back, and he wasn't just a pro running back. He led the league a couple of years in different things. He was a very good pro running back. When you were going into college, were you like one of those highly recruited super kids?
No, I would say I was like right in the middle. Like I wasn't like low. I wasn't struggling for offers, but I wasn't like the 5-star or whatever they call them now. So,
how did they lure you to that school? Like what were the college visits like and stuff like that?
Right. So for me, the reason why I went to Tennessee was purely ego. Because I was coming from the West Coast. I went to high school in San Diego, and in the city, it was like West Coast at that time. Like Pac-10 was like just starting out to be like more of that run and shoot offense, to where they have the little running backs and they couldn't carry the load. Is what they would say, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was like one of those kind of deals, and to where I felt like I was like, yo, I'm a true tailback, and I could play all 3 downs and carry an offense. and so the SEC was where those running backs kind of shined. And I had a few offers from the SEC, but Tennessee was the biggest one in the SEC. And there was people in the city, like, critics, like saying, "Oh, he's not an SEC back. He needs to stay out west." And who, like, looking back, I was like, who the fuck cares what those dudes was saying, like, at some fucking podunk website?
You did
right?
at 17.
Yeah, as a kid, like, that's what you reading Rivals.com, and you like, man, fuck this dude. I'm gonna show him I can play in the SEC. And so that was like my main motivation. Aside from the fact when I took the visit there, it was every visit I had. Let's see, I went to North Carolina, I went to Oregon State, and Tennessee, and I had a West Virginia visit set up, but I didn't go because I had committed to Tennessee. Mm-hmm. When I went to Tennessee, it felt like the feel that the dudes gave me on a host and visit was like, it felt like a real family atmosphere. Like, it just felt like it was like fun, and dudes was like, yo, when you get here, we gonna rock. When it was the other ones, it more felt like, okay, over here is the campus, and over here is the, it just felt like that feel. Yeah, it didn't feel like home, and Tennessee just felt like home.
So after you picked Tennessee, and people were whatever talking trash about you in a local newspaper and such, was that always fuel, or did it ever fuel self-doubt, or like, how did you take it?
No, that's definitely fueled self-doubt.
Okay, a little of both, maybe.
Yeah, no, it's for sure. I think you naturally have self-doubt as a human anyway. Mm-hmm. But I think those kind of things kind of validify your self-doubt. But like I said, the majority of my success, you could contribute to ego, because there's one part of your brain saying, yo, I'm not sure, man. But there's another part of your brain saying, fuck that, I'm the best to ever do it, right? And you have to have a little bit of that in order to have success.
Yeah, it's a drive.
Yeah.
Now,
because I mean, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I feel like I was going to cut off something cool.
Probably wasn't.
Okay. All right. So you were a 3-year starter at Tennessee, right? Which is kind of a big deal. Would you say it's more normal to start just your last 2 years? I don't know. But you were 3-year starter, and then you went undrafted into the league, as a pro. Why were you undrafted?
That's a can of worms. So if it's I feel the reason. I mean, you never know, because it's other people drafting you, right? But from the information I gathered post college career, when I was in the NFL, was that I wasn't the player that I was in college that I was in the NFL. Like, my body changed, my game changed, but I was still NFL caliber for sure. I should have been drafted.
What do you mean by that? Like, did you get smaller or bigger or slower? Or
I thinned out, got faster. I really stepped into my potential, and I think it was just like a shock, because I think I got comfortable in college where I kind of like in my setting, I got really comfortable, rather than there's another level that I need to aspire to get to. But I knew it was there, but it wasn't tangible to me, and there was no real, like a real life awakening of like, yo, this shit about to end. You need to get your shit together. Mm-hmm. And so when I didn't get drafted, that was kind of like my wake up call. And I was like, it's on now. It's life. Like it's life now. Like, because like I packed all my clothes. I remember this is a vivid moment in my life where like I packed all my clothes from my mother's house, and I went to training camp in Houston. And I remember telling her like, yo, I'm not coming back. Like whatever, like how I'm not coming back to your house. Like I'll make it somewhere if I don't make it here. And so like that, it was that kind of drive I had going into that season that was like, this is different.
So what happened your senior year in college? Your numbers went down. I don't know how to say it nicer.
Yeah.
Like is it just
it happened. It's demonstrable.
Yeah, to put numbers on it.
How dare you?
He rushed for like 1,200 yards as a junior and just a little under 600 as a senior. So that's less than half. What were you just like? Do you think you just didn't get like some big runs? Maybe the rest of the team wasn't as good, and it's hard to thrive when maybe they all know you're running and there's no passing. Or like, how'd that go down?
So I think it was a couple variables, right? That year, my junior year, where I was like all SEC, and they have this thing called the NFL Advisory Committee, where you send your film to them, right? You give them like your best 5 games. And they slot you. They say, okay, like based on this, what we saw, like we feel like you can be drafted in this round. And so they give you a grade. And so my grade was the second round. They felt like I could be drafted in the second round. So looking back, yeah, it would have been great. I should have left, but in my mind, for some reason, I was like, yo, I'm a first rounder. It's just ego, man. It's like I'm a first rounder, and so if I stay one more year, like and plus the rumblings you hear from like agents and like runners for agents that they kind of tell you like, yeah, you're like slotted from like second to third, like that's probably where you're gonna go. And so I'm like, fuck that, I'm a first round running back, and so like let me just stay work on my craft and get in the first round, which makes sense fiscally, but like but not really in the long run. I was thinking short term, like first round money, but so anyway, we ended up getting a new offensive coordinator. And this particular offensive coordinator, we didn't mesh well. I mean, I never have been like a super like players coach, like a coach that would like a player like me, because I'm not like one of those dudes who like yes sir, no sir. Like I was from the West Coast, so that yes sir, no shit was like slave talk to me. It didn't make any sense. Like I used to get in trouble. Like I remember I got in trouble a couple of times because they like if you ask a question, it's in the South. Now, mind you, like that's in a whole nother variable. Like, so I'm coming from the West Coast. I go to the South where everybody says sir and ma'am. That was foreign to me. I had never even heard of that before, like other than like movies, like old slave movies. And so like they would ask questions and I would answer. Like I remember one time my coach asked me something. I was like, huh? Because I didn't hear him. And he goes, huh? What do you mean, huh? What the fuck is this? What is it? I'm tired of this fucking disrespect. And I was like, what the fuck is with this guy? What is this dude's deal? And he stormed off. He's like, I'm sick of this shit. You're leaving or I'm leaving, one of the, but I'm not putting up with this anymore. And I'm like, I'm sitting there like, what the fuck just happened? I have no idea what happened. And one of my guys said, what happened? I was like, I said, huh? And this nigga, he flipped out. And they was like, oh, you can't say huh. I'm like, what do you mean you can't say huh? And he was like, that's disrespectful. Like you have to say sir. Like I'm like, I'm gonna call this, fuck that. Like, and so like my whole college career was a whole bunch of like cultural differences like that.
You didn't think you could meet in the middle? Like you don't have to go to all the way to sir, but maybe you could have been like, what'd you say?
No, they won't meet in the middle.
Oh.
That was my issue with authority figures in sports in general, is that and this is probably why I got docked the way I did. And part of the reason why I didn't get drafted, which I found out later, was the coaches, the scouts they told me that my coaches in college said that I was uncoachable. And it was nonsense because like, if you tell me to do something, I did it all the time. But it was those kind of things that I used to challenge. Like if they cuss you out, I'm like, you don't have to talk to me like that.
Right.
Like I used to defend myself in that capacity.
I hang on your every word. Just make them nice.
Yeah. And it doesn't like, I didn't understand why, like if we were sitting at a bar and I didn't know this dude, this 50-year-old man or 40-year-old man, and he didn't know me as an 18-year-old kid, there's no way he would be like, hey, you son of a bitch, listen here. Like, because I would be like, we would fight or something like that. You know, there'd be a conflict. And I didn't understand, like, why couldn't I get treated with that same respect that you would treat a stranger? And we in this, it just didn't make any sense to me. Like, it blew my mind. And so I was always like, this is not, like, the whole concept was nonsense to me. And so I think a lot of that, me bucking the system or always asking questions or always challenging them, not in a way that was like disrespectful, but more so like, okay, like, why don't we do more of this? Because obviously the defense is doing this. They only take those kind of questions from quarterbacks. Like, quarterbacks are the only ones traditionally who can challenge the schematics of an offense. Everybody else is like, you do what you're told. And I'm like, I see the shit. I know what's going on. I see the game. Yeah, I see the game within the game. So why can't I give any input? This doesn't make any sense. So all of those factors combined, on top of the fact that we had a new coordinator and we clashed, and there was a younger cat behind me who they really liked. I could tell when they first got there that they liked him more. They could just the writing is always on the wall. All those factors combined, my carries got cut in half. Everything dropped. And so and by the end, halfway through the season, I'm like, fuck these dudes. Like, it's obvious what they're doing. So I was like, fuck them. And so
so you went into the pros undrafted.
Yeah.
Do you felt like, I guess they gave you a shot? Like, how did you in my head, you can tell me if I'm close on this, right? If you're like first, second round, you kind of have to fuck up to not make the team. You know,
you have to fuck up bad. You have to.
Okay, so I'm on target here. And if you're somewhere like sixth, seventh round, you make the team. And if you're like, it goes to 12, right? If you're 12th round or
it's just seventh round.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
It used to.
Okay. Well, what do you know? So anyway, if you're towards the end of the draft or undrafted, you have to be covered in gold to make the team and sort of, you know, earn your spot.
Yeah, you got to be special.
So how that? Do you feel like you barely made the team, or were they like, holy smokes, I didn't make the team
at first. I got cut. I got cut. Yeah, I got cut my rookie year. So I thought it was over. And so what happened was I was obviously, I might say this, but to me, in my eyes, I was obviously better than all the running backs that they had. But they were older and they were just kind of building this team up to where it's like, okay, we're going to be a contender, and they're not going to trust an undrafted rookie. Like, and granted, I wasn't making all the correct decisions, but they're not going to trust an undrafted rookie. They would rather have a savvy vet that's more. We know what he's going to do. We know.
And the bad decisions, this is football decisions, you know.
Yeah, all football stuff. I didn't get in any trouble off the field, other than I had a baby out of wedlock, but that's not trouble.
This is the NFL. I think you're supposed to.
Yeah, par for the course, man. But no. So
you blocked the wrong guy here and there, but mostly you were a top athlete that showed potential.
Very rarely I made a mistake on the field. Like that was, you can count. I could probably count those on one hand in my career. Like I never really had a misassignment. I took those personally, because I was always my mind frame was always like, all right, if you're gonna cut me, it's gonna be because I'm not talented, not because it's something I could have controlled. Right?
Okay,
like that was always my mindset. And so during my rookie year, I had a bad hamstring injury during training camp, and I was killing. And you can hear the rumblings like in the newspapers and stuff. It's like, yo, this undrafted cat's gonna make the team. And then I got injured, and it's just hard to climb your way back into coach's favor after they lose sight of an undrafted dude.
Was this Houston?
Yeah, this was Houston.
Okay.
And I came back and I wasn't 100% for the very last preseason game. I still did good, but didn't do enough to make the roster initially. So they cut me and they put me on practice squad. And I thought it was over. I didn't know what practice squad was, but I remember when my dude, two-time Reyes, he pulled me to the side. Low-key changed my life. I told him this one day because he sat me down and was like, listen, bro, this is the best thing that could ever happen to you. And I'm like, why? Because I was upset. And I was like, why? He's like, it's like a liaison. Like, he's like, this is like, you can show the coaches what you can do every single day in practice. He said, but you have, to just ball out in practice every single day, and you can get brought up to the active roster. And I was like, oh, word. I had no idea. He's like, yes. He's like, so just keep your head straight. This is a good position. You're not going to get paid a whole lot of money. It's good money. But he's like, just keep your head straight and you're going to grind it out and you'll be all right. Because he's like, because you have it. And that changed my attitude. And from then on, my whole mindset was like, fuck it. I'm gonna embarrass the defense and make them play me. That was my whole, every single day I was like, man, I'm going to make you play me. And so that's what I used to do. I mean, the defense used to be mad at me because like during practice, they just trying to get a look for the game. They're not trying to like tackle. But like my thing is like these dudes upstairs, they're trying to cut me every single day. And on practice squad, you see dudes getting shuffled in and out every single day. Like dude that was there one day, he's gone. And like you don't ever know when you're on the chopping block. So my thing was like, I'm going full tilt. Like, I don't care. And
I love it.
yeah, it was. I mean, it was looking back, it's a really dope story to tell, but it's nerve wracking as shit because you don't know, like your future's in the balance. I got a baby, right? It's like all of this shit is combined.
How much you earned in a year? 125 ish.
It was 88,000.
88
for practice squad. 88,000 for practice squad at that time. I don't know what it is now. CBA changes all the time. But I remember D'Amico Ryans, who was a Pro Bowl linebacker at the time. I remember one time he's in practice, like. And he's like, hey man, slow that shit down. We just trying to get a look. And I was like, you ain't gonna pay me. I'm gonna run this motherfucking rock, dog. Until they tell me to slow down, I'm not slowing down, fam. And he ended up being one of my good dudes. But so they ended up pulling me up halfway through the season. One of the other guys got hurt, and I was killing, like I was on practice squad, I was killing cats. So they had to notice, and they gave me an opportunity to start. And once they did that, I was like, I'm not looking back.
So what's the culture like, right? So I'm a running back. I'm currently whatever, first or second string, and there's you nipping at my heels. Do those guys resent you? Do they like? How do you? Because you're on the same team, but you're competing. Yeah,
and that's always been the thing. Different rooms have different feels. Like so, like for DBs, it's different because you have 4 starters in there. So it's like it's more of a family atmosphere. Okay. Running backs, everybody's competing for that same spot. So you're close, but everybody knows what's going on. Yeah. And so it's a little bit different dynamic. I was always super cool. Like I would never like, if you beat me out, you beat me out. And there's never no funk, but there's always just that underlying like competition, that undercurrent in your relationship. And it's never like settled until that didn't change for me until I got a big contract. Because once you get a big contract, you're going to play. That's what they pay you for. And so I kind of eased up on the everybody's against me mentality. And I was just like, and then once you start aging too, the dynamic shifts. It's like, let me bring these younger dudes along and show them how to sustain themselves in the league, how to take care of themselves financially, make sure they're doing the right things on and off the field. Like you kind of turn into a mentor more than like I'm out here trying to take these dudes' jobs.
So on the aging thing, so you got released from Houston and you were 28 years old.
29.
Okay. Yeah. Incalculable. So
that's a big difference in running back years.
Okay. I just took your current age and subtracted 5. But anyway, so but you're 29. You're in your 20s. Like you're. Did you always anticipate 29 being a date where you might get released, or did you think it would last forever? Like, where was your head as that was going on?
I mean, it's sad more so because of the relationships you build over the years, and it's something that's like, it doesn't really hit you until you don't go in when everybody's supposed to be there, and like you miss your dudes, you miss the staff, like like the lunch ladies. Like I haven't talked to the lunch ladies in I don't know how long, and I ended up like having a really good relationship with them because I saw them every day, and like those were one of the people who people can always kind of like pass over and they don't really acknowledge. Because it's a small job, but it's a big job to me. So I was always like engaging.
And so, they liked you right back.
They loved me. Like, and they're all Mexican women. And I told them I was half Mexican, so I would like speak this Spanglish with them, right? And so like little shit like that, you miss. But in my mind, when I first started, I was like, I didn't want to play past the age of 30. And when I got to 30, I was like, I could play longer. Like I really could, but I just didn't. I didn't feel it anymore. Like,
did you get hurt in Houston?
I got hurt a lot in Houston.
Okay, I didn't phrase it right. But you played 4 games in 2015, the year you got released.
Yeah, I tore my Achilles. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it's part of it though, man.
But
I came back. That feels good. I came back and then I got signed by Miami, and midway, even earlier than that, but midway through that season, I realized that I wasn't into it anymore. Like my heart just.
But you got hurt in Miami though, right?
It was like a soft tissue injury. It wasn't like debilitating. Like I could have played the season,
but you just realized football wasn't your passion anymore.
I just wasn't into it, man. Like there used to be a time where like I woke up and cared about the grind of it. Like I cared about waking up and getting after. Like it was on my heart, it was on my soul. Like I wanted to just go. And then when you wake up and that's like, I was thinking the moment it flipped was very vivid to me. We were playing the Cleveland Browns and I was actually not suited up. I was still recovering from the soft tissue injury. And I'm looking up in the stands and I'm just like, yo, I don't give a fuck who wins this game. I don't care about this shit like at all. Couldn't care less. And I was in the middle of this book, this Fabric of the Cosmos book. It's by Brian Greene. And I was reading this book at the time and I was like, yo, I really want to go home in my bed and read this book. I in the middle of the game, I was thinking this shit and I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this. I can't do this anymore. So the next day I told the coach and he was like, take a couple of days, think about it. And he was really cool. To his credit and the Miami organization, they were really cool about it. They were like, we respect what you did here. Because when I was there and I was dedicated and I gave my knowledge to the younger cats, but it just wasn't in me anymore.
Dana White talks about that with fighters. Do you follow UFC at all? You know these names, Dana White? Yeah.
I didn't until I got into jiu-jitsu and that shit. Yeah, that shit got really dope.
So sometimes fighters talk about retirement. And sometimes it's a negotiation tactic. Sometimes they're thinking about retirement. His advice is always the same. He's like, look, man, this isn't baseball, right? You can't go out there and hope your passion comes back. This is two men fighting in an octagon. If you're thinking about retirement, retire. We'll move on. And I feel like football has a lot in common with that. You know, if you're not up there trying to get the respect of people through violence as a running back, then maybe you should retire.
That was exactly my thought. And that's when I was talking to my coach, what I reiterated, where I was like, yo, this isn't like, even if I was a quarterback, I might be able to fake it a couple more years. But like as a running back, I could hurt myself really bad. I could hurt somebody else really bad if I'm not mentally into every single snap. And I was like, it's just not worth it to me anymore. Like I'm good financially. Like it just doesn't. Yeah, I couldn't do it.
So the financial aspect definitely plays into it, where I'm sure at some point you're like, I got more money that I can spend in my life. My kids are going to be fine. That is removed. And then in addition to that, like you had to have some thought in your head where it's like, I did had some tremendous accomplishments in Houston. I'm not going to be able to match that now. Like, you know, I'm getting older, and if I don't have the passion the way I did, it's like, was it almost like a legacy thing as well, where it's like, why don't I quit while I have this tremendous career instead of being one of those guys that tries to hang on for an extra 3 years and becomes the ESPN story where it's like, oh, this is sad, you know. You just broken your body so much, and then you have 50 years after you get out of the league of just debilitating injuries and physical therapy, and I'm sure all that came into it, right?
Yeah, I'm probably still gonna have the debilitating physical injuries. It's because of the nature of the position I played. But no, mine was a little more different. Mine didn't really have anything to do with like legacy. I remember one time somebody asked me like, "Yo, what do you want your legacy to be in football?" And I remember telling them like, what does that even mean? Like, I didn't really give it any thought other than like what is a legacy other than like people talking about like where you rank in a barbershop or some shit like that. Like what is it other than that? What the fuck does it doesn't mean anything. And so once I was cool with that, because like I remember like reading articles about me while I was playing. Like I'm a 4-time Pro Bowler, and there was articles being written like, oh, he's a system back, and like all the negative shit was like, oh, he's not an elite back, like all of this shit, and I'm like, like who gives a fuck what these people think? Like why would I care? Like it doesn't make like I'm busting my ass every single day to have some dude that does whatever for a living critique what I've given my life to. So I was like, It came to a point in time where I was like, fuck my legacy. Like I don't care. That shit doesn't. But like I don't care. Like all one of the realest shits I've ever heard in my life was by Bill O'Brien. He's the head coach of the Houston Texans. Which, you know, we had our risks, but I ain't never had a problem with dude. I feel like he's a good coach. He said some of the real shit. We were getting our ass whooped at halftime, some game. He said one of the like halftime speeches never work, by the way.
Like, really? They work on the movies.
They never work though. But this shit like resonated with me so hard. He was like, because like we were away, and he was like, "Fuck the fans, fuck that other team, fuck this, fuck that, and fuck everybody else." The only thing he said, my dad said, the only thing that matters is the front 2 rows in your funeral. And I was like, "Whoa, that's hard. That shit stuck." And to this day, I'm like, I've never really heard better words, because it's like, that's real. At the end of the day, what matters than the people that's going to be sitting in the front 2 rows of your funeral? Those are the people that matter. Man. And so that's what my legacy is. And it's going to be my kids. It's going to be people who really love me, who like call on me for support, suggestions, and life advice. Like, those are people that I'm trying to impress with the things that I do in my life. Everybody else, fuck it.
Yeah, that phrase has a lot of perspective. I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah, dude, it's a real thing.